Hi everyone, this is Mike Levin, alias Prosperous Guy, founder of Genuine Trading, here to do our weekly market recap. And this is for the week ending the 7th of September. And we had a pretty interesting week. It was very, how should we say, interesting week in that the market really just kind of took off on Wednesday morning. It's funny, I was in a futures chat room. My friend Rick Vinicki from Beyond Profile runs a futures chat room, and he's got tons of people in it. And was it Thursday? I guess maybe it was Thursday. Where this thing just really took off. I'm trying to, let's see, this was, Friday the 7th. No, I guess, it was Thursday. This thing just, as the market opened, it was just sitting around, basically, just meandering, and the market just ripped and just ran up and down a little bit and then ran up again. It really didn't give you a lot of opportunity to really, get any real good longs off after this thing just took off and just, I haven't seen anything like that in a while. The financials had been leading the couple days prior. Goldman Sachs kind of was like tipping it off and running up ahead of time. It popped and broke out here on Tuesday, pull back, but Wednesday ran up ahead of everything, had a beautiful run during the course of the week, over 10 points on Goldman. Morgan Stanley also had some really nice runs. JP Morgan wasn't as much. Well, actually, yeah, it was from Thursday or so, from 37 to 39. Citigroup, from 29 and change, 32 and a half. Bank of America, I had actually predicted in the hit the bid trading room that we might get some sort of move here like we did back, I'll show you when, right in here. Very shallow kind of pullback or just like consolidation, and then here's 2 days. I said, watch, we get the next 3-4 days like this. You very well. I said, any real good break of this 8.25 level, we may see 950, 975. And if that turns out to be right, and if I'm not in those options, I'm going to be a little bit ticked. But let's just go over the market how we normally go over it. I'm also going to pull in, the different positions that we have. I added an Apple short. I might as well get right into that here, where I was looking at the daily RSI 2. Now, you see, as this broke out in here and started to run higher, in fact, I'm going to just get rid of these for a second, and I'm going to show you what I was looking at. It was right in here. I was noticing that we ran higher and pulled back, and as we were running up a little bit, the RSI 2 numbers on the daily only got to highs of like 80. That sometimes is a precursor that when you're hitting new highs and these aren't, that's a little bit of weakness that is showing in there. So I kind of got gutsy, and I recommended a short at 674.25, and I think it'll show. Well, I have it on one of these. Where's my little arrow? Well, of course, now for some reason I'm not finding it, but at 10:09, there we go. Pull this back right here. And here it is. Yep, on Wednesday at 10:09. I'm going to pull this back so you can see the price right in here. It's roughly right in there. I'm going to put an arrow so you'll see. I said this thing is a good short, and believe it or not, I actually had, I won't really call it guts in a certain way, the chutzpah to say that I think it's going to come down 100 points or so. So why I shorted Apple above 674. I think the iPhone 5 is already priced in. I said, is Apple going to get sliced? So go to rantfinance.com and do a little search under Apple, and you'll see this article that I put together. And basically, I just mentioned a couple of things. I thought it was a little overpriced. I looked and I was showing the RSI 2 here. I can't make this bigger right now. How this was sloping down as this was starting to run up. But there are other ways to look at this that it did look a little bit bullish too. So as the next couple days went by, I'm looking at it, and I looked at the 15-minute, and I said, well, there's another way to look at this is it's a floating upside down, reverse head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder, that if this breaks, this area, well, this thing might run. So right now I may be eating a nice deep dish pot pie of crow soon. But I also still believe that if you take a look on the daily, if we do break this level, which we're kind of in the middle of a channel, which does not make it overpriced. I'll show you another way that I was looking at it. You could say like, all right, well, here's a channel, and you're right in the middle, so that's really not so bad. So I just kind of think that our target would be this 560, 570 level if we get some sort of pullback. And invariably, we've had these amazing runs before, but, what if there's a delay in this iPhone 5? What if there's some other problems with it? What if there's something, I know this is going to sound stupid, but, what if there's some sort of earthquake again over in Japan and it disrupts the supply lines? I know, I'm reaching totally. All I could say is Apple, to me, reminds me of something that's just overknown, overowned. And I'm sure you could say, oh, but it's cheap and it's this and it's that. Come on, everyone and their mother's coming out with iPads now that are half the price almost, that are really looking really cool. The Kindle, the Fire, they're really upgrading these things. I just tend to think that, Apple's a very good company. They make great products. I just tend to think that their growth is going to slow, and they just can't keep up that horrendous growth, or torrential growth. Torrid, that's the word I was looking for, torrid, which is really good. And I tend to think this thing will turn around and capture a lot of people that have been recent buyers that have finally thrown in the towel. And I think we get down to the 550, 560 level, and I'm just sticking by it. So I may not be, to the penny on it, but that's what I said with Apple. I also, I added something really interesting. Rosetta Genomics is this tiny, teeny, tiny little company that's in the biotech arena, has a market cap of less than $4 million. How crazy is this? I don't know if this is true because I know they just did a reverse split, but it says here they only have 700,000 shares outstanding. I mean, 700,000, but they're showing an average volume is 1.5 million. Now, I think that average volume is before they did the reverse split, so it's a little bit of a little bit misleading, but yeah, something's not right here because they show a short float is 48% of the shares are short, so that in itself isn't good if you're short. I just tend to think this is going to be one that a lot of firms are going to want to get behind on Rosetta, and they're going to want to squeeze the shorts and get everyone to buy in. This already had a nice pop. I mean, look at this just on a 1.5 year basis. This thing was, again, it's a reverse split, but I think you got a lot of room with this thing. I predicted at least a double on this. So I'm actually going to get behind this a little more, do a little bit more research, and maybe come out with a Seeking Alpha article that has more fundamental information, not just, technical. But I kind of like this in here. I really do. So ROSG, speculative buy. The buy was at $5.48, and my prediction was at least 11. But, we get something running with this. These are ones like, look at Repros, so RPRX. Look how that just ran. That had a reverse split as well. And they get this thing, and they took it from like the $4 area, and they took it up to 8 or 9, based out sideways for a couple months, and they just, doubled that almost from the $8 level, got up to around 15. So some of these stocks, with very thin floats that have some potential to them, have some amazing rips. So color me strong and long at Rosetta at 548. The Apple short 674.25. Also in U.S. Steel, I had gone long steel a little bit early, right here at 1960 as it was coming down. Now these colors here, forget about this line for a second because that's just a trend line, and I had already sold some options the last time around. But the yellow line is where we bought initially, so that's 1960 is our cost, and then as this ran up here, this arrow signifies that I sold the 21 calls on U.S. Steel against our position, lowering our costs down to $18.90. So the stock was at 1960. I sold the 21 calls for 70 cents on the bid, and that lowers our cost to $18.90. So $18.90 to 21 is $2.10. It comes down to 11.11% profit if this is called. So I tend to think it'll hover, meander around here. I don't mind if it's called too much. One of them that we're also in a good position that we did a cover call was on Nugget. We've been riding a couple different series of options with Nugget. So our net cost with Nugget was down here to around $9.05. Sold some more calls against it and sold these calls at 75 cents for the 13s. And that was when it ran up here the first time. When it pulled back, I never bought those calls back, which I probably could have, or as we see now, should have, because now the stock's almost at 15. We're going to lose it at 13. But, you know, when your net cost is $8.30 and you're going to sell it at 13, that's $4.70 profit. So 470 divided by 830, 56% profit. You know, and we're doing that like in roughly 2 months. So 56% profit multiplied, do it correctly, that's over 330% annualized rate of return. So I love that trade. Again, would have been nice if we held on to it, but you know, gold could also pull back in here as well. But I love these this triple miners. This is not based off of gold; it's based off the gold miners, the GDX, and not the GLD. But as you can see here, it's the first time we really blasted off from this area. I tend to think that we can get back up to another. Hang on a second. Let's take a look at where do we think I can get a retrace. So let's go from, if we just went from here down to here, right now we're at the 38% retrace. Maybe we get up to the 50% retrace. So yeah, loving the gold, like the U.S. steel, but just going over some of the other things real quickly. Spider, that one took off really nicely. And again, the look at Goldman had a really nice breakout. I was just, as the brokers go, so go the markets. But I really think this is a major area of resistance right up here on Goldman. In fact, I'm going to pull it back a little bit more so. Yeah. And I would say this is more of our area of resistance. So we're not far away from it. You know, maybe we got another 2.5, 3 points. Maybe they bring it up to 120 or so. Win, I've been following a little bit. If it does clear this area, you get a couple gaps to fill on Win. F5 is just, let me just remove some of these. We've got a bunch of these. So this is the middle of the range. It did break down. I think that's got a little bit more to go. Qs, I think it's more at the top of the range. I don't know if you're setting up a very, very steep ascent. So if I'm going to, you know, get rid of this for a second, move this up, show you what I'm talking about. Thank God this week the lines work more so than last week where they didn't. So this is sort of like what we're in right now. But it's taking off here, so that was a very powerful move. But again, it's also the beginning of the month. You usually see some of these bigger moves. Do we get some sort of pullback for the middle of the month? And but again, though, also you're at the end of the third quarter window dressing at the end of September. You know, if we get some really nice rallies, they continue to pile on. People have to buy in to show that they're participating. So you may get something a little overextended. And particularly, we've been held back a lot by Europe. Maybe we start to lead the world rather than being wigged around by what's going on in the rest of the world. Netflix, I'll pull this into more of an hourly look. Not really looking too great. Joy Global's one I'd like to like, but as we're seeing here, I sold it. I got lucky, sold it up here in the 57s when it was in this apex area. Now it's kind of right back to that area. I did not buy back into it. GDX, as I had showed you earlier. LVS, you know, moves along nicely with Win. Had a beautiful breakdown to rip back up. It's sort of like, imagine them pulling down like the shade to let it go and it pops right up. You know, those window shade kind of things. It's a nice couple-day rally there. Walter Energy, whenever it breaks down in these areas here, It really gets people just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, even if the bathwater is filled with coal soot. I still think the next movement into buying something that's kind of cheap is the coal stocks, Walter, BTU. I even like A&R, Big Brown, otherwise known as Brad from the Hit the Bid Room, called my attention to A&R roughly right around this 6 area on the way down. And then when it broke down, we were kind of liking it in here, but I never did put my stamp of approval on it, and it had a beautiful run, at least 1.5, which is a very nice percentage already. Could get up in this apex area. I'd love to see it pull back down to 6 again. I think I'd be all over it. Let me just get right back to where I was up here. Hold on a second. We were at Walter. Also looking at the oil ETFs. I think it's basically neutral. Maybe this might turn around and come down again. Not really seeing strong numbers on the RSIs, so that doesn't make me want to jump into them too heavy. AIG, what a weird one. AIG on the, it was pulling like a megaphone thing. It kept running from the tops to the bottom of these things. Really surprised as the rest of the financials ran, this didn't. So that might be a little bit of caution. Scheiss van Klee. I got out in here. I didn't really miss anything. Yeah. Nothing particular. GMCR, boy, it's a crazy one. They'll break this thing down. Hey, I wonder where does this go? Not too far from the tops here. But this thing, I just don't touch it. Not going to touch. That's almost like a parallel line. Like BTU, but again, longer term. Travel Zoo, see this? Shoulder, head, shoulder, reverse area, liking this a lot. I think Travel Zoo really got a lot of upside in here. My target is in the 30s. In here they had some talk about not necessarily just putting them up for sale, but looking at how to maximize shareholder value. You know, you've had a good 4 or 5 months, time for something to come of that. So Tzu is one that we've been long. I even bought twice. I averaged up in price here. I got in at 1970 and again at 22.55. So right now, with the stock trading here at 23.33, I really believe this is going to go up to the low 30s. Yandex got out of, it rallied back up to where I still thought it was going to 24. I liked how when it pulled back in here, did not pull back into the channel. Should have been a buyer as this curled up. At least been a buyer somewhere like 21.75ish, or even if you waited to this break of 21.62. So yeah, like a 21.75 would have been nice. You would have gotten at least a nice good point in there. U.S. Steel, we were talking about that. Pack it up, pack it in. Acme Packet. This thing used to be very, very loved. Fell apart, kind of like this. Shoulder, head, rolling shoulder, break, pull back. I'd like to see this pull back a little bit more. Maybe see it hold this 18 area would be nice. I'd like to see that if we get any pullback. Diamond Foods is just, it's actually not one I would really say that I want to trade a lot. But kind of interesting chart in here. Shoulder, head, maybe another shoulder. You could see a breakout to the 26 to 27 area. Yeah, you absolutely could. This is one that, you know, you might want to do a married put with. You know, buy the stock, buy like an out-of-the-money put in case they have, you know, some sort of scandal again with their accounting or with these nut growers that they deal with. If not, this thing's got some really good upside. Facebook. You know what's funny? I just have no opinion other than I wrote someone an email that I thought Facebook right now has got a market cap of 40.66 billion. And I said to someone, here we go, I'll show you. Market cap 40.66 billion. I think this thing can come down to a market cap of 10 billion. So, you know, this thing can come down to $7 a share is what I predicted. I said 7 a share. Initially, I had said 12 to 13. So if you have 2.14 billion shares outstanding, 2.14 times 13, it gives you 27.82 billion market cap. if you're looking at what kind of market cap you're going to buy the stock at, I'd probably say 20 billion. You could probably start bringing it in, and that makes it like roughly $9 a share or so. So as it starts breaking the double digits, that's probably you could start averaging in on Facebook. UNG, I'm starting to like nat gas again. This is pulling in. I think it's going to pull into a nice supply area. So this gets into 17, depending upon how everything looks here. A lot of people are predicting a warm winter. I don't predict weather. I can predict weather for the next 2 days or so. That's about it. And the only way I do it is I look at what they say on the weather.com. So other than that, I don't predict how many hurricanes we're going to have in the season or how many winter storms we're going to have ahead of time. To me, that's ludicrous. Mako, again, this is one that we loved at 13 and a quarter. Loved it again in the low 12s. I actually scooped this one up at 12.07. So we were really excited about that. Then it ran up, and I said that from the run-up, this pullback was a really nice Fibonacci pullback. Look at this. Pulled right back, right to around the 38% pullback. It was really nice. Never got in it again. Wished I did. Then this pullback was a 50% pullback. Wanted to get in, hemmed and hawed. Didn't get in that again. No, 61.8. Look at that. Right to the number. So I'd like to see this pullback one more time. But the only other pullback that I see coming up in it, I'll show you, will be a long-term trend kind of thing. Will be from here to here. So if we get this pulling back to like 1590 or 16 or so, yeah. See something like this? When they pull back into these apexes like that, love them. So if it does 1575, 1590, get a little bit below 16, I'd like that, particularly from a fundamental basis. Nugget, creamy nougat. That's what we call the nugget. Use that old West gold mining kind of guy. LCC. This is another one that we have. We don't have too many covered positions. We've got 4 of them. U.S. Steel, MCP, LCC, and Nugget. As you can see, we're in LCC roughly around 1080. Our net cost is down around 1030, and we're agreeing to sell at 12. So I'd love to get rid of this one. I don't really trade the airlines too well. SIPI, loving Mississippi. SIPI is Spectrum Pharmaceuticals. They have Zevalin and Fusilev as their oncology products. They finally got the approval this week or recently in here to buy out Alos Healthcare. And I just think this thing does nothing but go up. Again, that's just me. I own the stock at 12, thinking that we get back at least up to the 18s that it ran to before, 17 and change. I've been in this many times over the past couple years, as low as 4, believe it or not. Down in, you see in a second, hold on. Yeah, right in these areas. So, yeah, I missed a lot of this rally on the way up. I knew about this in here, and I missed it. Got in here. Got out at around 7 to 8, and then I missed this huge run, but got back in a little bit of it in here. I never sold any of it, held it all the way back down. So love this company. I think this has got a lot going on for it. Very similar to Seattle Genetics, how Seattle Genetics has run over the past couple of years. If you take a look at that one, hopefully soon this will pop up. Come on. You know what? Maybe there we go. The run, pulls back hard, runs up, pulls back, but eventually it gets back. I can't believe it was up to 28. I was just looking at it a couple months ago. Damn. So getting back to SIPI, we're almost at the end of our list. So we got MCP. Again, this is a real tough one. I should have waited one more day to sell the calls. Should have sold the 12s against it, but we sold the 11s. This will be a 10% gainer when we're done with it. It's September options expiration. Next on it, Bank of America. I should have been in that one. I really think this is going to 915 change. Want to buy the pullbacks in this because I really think this is really officially going to break out. And people, once they're talking about the housing, so if that's the case, then we run to the top of this level, 11 and a half by the end of the year. RENA, again, it's kind of a tough one. Net cost for us is 10 and change. I haven't sold any options against it. Had a pretty bad day the other day when it pulled back. Yeah, right in here, gave up some gains. but I'm still holding on to it. Still think with Vivus, not really probably going to sell that product. With Orexigen's product, not as efficacious as Lorexicant, whatever it is, Lorexigan, something like that. I forget the name. As Arena's drug. Arena's drug is actually the safest drug out there. So I think they'll get a marketing partner before others will. RIM had a nice little rebound. I'm still in RIM up at higher prices. 765 is the net price here on RIM. But I still think that eventually you're going to see some M&A action or them start to break the company up piece by piece. ANR, we talked about that earlier. Love it. Love it more at 6 than they do here. Rosetta Genomics, boy, this could be a nice cup and handle. And with a very, very low float, if this thing gets rolling, Dendreon should be a piece of crappy. I'm holding on to this one. I still think there's going to be some M&A action with this one as well. The closer we get into the September, October, kind of merger and acquisition season for people to complete a deal, if there's any tax benefits from that, I think Celgene is the main buyer here of Dendreon. OCZ, what a pain in the tuchus this one is. I've had a couple of really great profits that I've let evaporate, earnings announcement, pre-announcement, but I still think, again, this is one's going to be subject to the disk drive manufacturers coming in to buy the solid state drive manufacturers and just incorporate them into the businesses. So OCZ and STEC are sitting ducks, lame ducks. Nope, not STEC. I think this STEC is worth 12 as far as I'm concerned. OCZ, yeah, this is worth, to me, at least 9 to 10 from what I've read. So that's just my opinion. REN, perennial takeover target in the Asian internet space. The Facebook of China is REN. From there, Nokia, got out of Nokia 280, missed this run up, but we're basically flat. Like to see another little bit of a pullback. Love to get this back down into low 2s again. I would be a buyer. Euro looking great. I thought the euro has 131 on it. Yeah, roughly at the bottom of these numbers in here, where I think we go. So if we pull this up, I tend to think something like this is what I think is in store for the euro. So we got a little more of that upside. So that may be the last gasp for the market. And I don't mean last gasp in a bad way. I just mean, there's a couple ways that I would draw this line. So I would draw this line like this. From the bottom, through this little bottom, kind of capturing this top, missing a little bit of this, kind of broke through that. So I think we could probably go in between here for a while. And, just take a look at some of the things we got out of. The Facebook 19s expired last week on us, and I got out of Radio Shack, took a little bit of a lump there. So that's basically it. Very, very thin on our positions for right now. If we're looking at our positions, Arena, Dendreon, OCZ, RIM, love Sippy. Again, the ones that I really like and I'd be buying at these levels. Now, there's others I'd be buying at these levels, but I'd be buying with these levels not just to get back to even. I think this has got good upside. I still like Travelsuit at these levels. Walter Energy, I'd particularly be buying down here. Love this for new buyers. Love, love, love this Rosetta Genomics the most. I'm going to put a big green there. And I would pick up some OCZ in here as well. This Arena, I wouldn't play around with it. Dendreon, to me, it's a piece of crap kind of stock that I got long at higher prices. You could spec down here at these levels is fine. The same thing with RIM, but I wouldn't really jump into it. My Apple short, the stock is like 6 points away, 7 points away. I really wouldn't play with that too much. And that's basically about it. I finished up my first, newsletter on Genuine Trading. So if you want, send me an email or just go to the Genuine Trading website. And if you go, it doesn't work on here, but just go to Genuine Trading. I'm pulling up another web browser here, so you can see in a second the Google Chrome should pop up here. And what you'll see is normally when you go to my website, within 3 seconds, there's a pop-up that'll come up, but it's not so much a pop-up as it's a scroll up from the bottom. So watch in here, once we go to Genuine Trading, to become a member of the site, See, it's loading up here. Then in 3 seconds, you'll see right on this bottom here, look at the bottom, this little thing scrolls up to subscribe to my newsletter. It's basically just subscribing to the site and the newsletter. So you just click here to sign up. You put in your email address, and it'll just ask you for your name. We're not going to sit there. I hate when people bombard you with emails soliciting. We're not salesy. We're out to give you out really good resources. And yeah, I do have some really good indicator packages that I represent from really good traders out there. And I have some automated systems that are ranked at the top of the game by Futures Truth Magazine, Ranks Trading Systems. They run the code for them. That's a really great site. As well as Striker. I deal with Striker and the guys there. They only show the real results that their clients are getting from their automated systems. So that's basically it. On the videos, I'm going to be adding this video. As always, we've got the walking talking videos if you want to have a little bit of fun and just listen to Chris Walken as Walken talks about gold. That was one of the last ones I did of any stature. So sometimes I could do Walking Good, sometimes I just meander about. But this was a really good one on gold and silver. If you go back and see that one, I made some good calls there. But other than that, just watching football right now. Then my Eagles are screwing up. It's only 3-3. How can you not be beating the Cleveland Browns? But wish all the best to everyone. Again, go to the website. If you have any questions, if you have any requests for me to do anything chart-wise, I'd be happy to do some charts for you. Also, follow us on Twitter or on StockTwits. Just go there, and you can either look for Prosperous Guy at his Walkin' Talkin'. Normally just put that in one word. That's on Twitter or on StockTwits. Or, of course, I always have, my Mike Levin, which is Prosperous Guy. And that's where I tweet all my charts to from the charting package that I use. So, all right, so that'll be it. Have a great one. Bye.